Welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's Lindsay and Krista live in New York.
Live in New York. It's true. Mm-hmm. We're live in New York. I don't know how
Saturday
people survive here. It's so crazy. It's very stressful.
Yeah, the pace is the pace.
The pace is the pace.
Especially if you're in the city, it's just, it can sweep you up.
Totally.
It can sweep you up.
And so we're excited to have on the show today, Garrain Jones. And this conversation was so fun, so fascinating. He is incredible. I feel like we connected from like a soul level. He is such a caring, kind, good human. And I think he was so helpful and expansive for me in our conversation for so many things. And one of those things was helping me affirm the belief that men could be in integrity and spiritual. I think in my work in our space, you know, there's so many different types of people and beings and teachers that sometimes you can lose the faith about men staying in their integrity as teachers. And he really was so helpful for that. You know, I felt so safe in his presence and I felt such clean energy. He's a husband, he has kids, and it is just very powerful to be in his presence. So this conversation is deeply spiritual today, deeply interesting. We talk about relationships, we talk about energy, we talk about frequencies, and I think you guys are really going to love it.
Yeah, he's been through so much in his life. I'm looking just at, he shares kind of the very, very brief high level of his story on his website, just to give you an idea. But he had a near-death experience at 10 years old where a group of boys tried to drown him. His father was murdered when he was 12 years old. And that, type of trauma, I think in a lot of cases sends you down just like the wrong path, got mixed up with the wrong people, was in juvenile detention centers and moved to LA eventually at 18. And it was very overwhelming, but things definitely started to change after that, where he just found, whether it was like a book that changed his life, people that were influencing him in more positive ways. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's when I hear about certain traumas like that, like your father is murdered.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me to go there.
I know.
And for him to create his life's work in such a powerful, impactful way from moments like that is like very, very inspiring.
Yeah. I was thinking about that when you were talking, because I was thinking about my access to empathy in that moment and how sometimes you don't allow yourself to go there with things like that because it's so deep and so real, and to transform your life completely is just instrumental and powerful. So he's a speaker, he's a teacher, he's someone that teaches a lot on inner child work. So if you're someone that's gone through a near-death experience, lost your father, grew up in the wrong type of community, didn't really have a lot of access to play, didn't have a lot of access to your imagination, healing that inner child and being with that inner child is so important for you to live a full, rich life. And him bringing that in through his retreats and his teachings is just so powerful. So we did talk a little bit about that. But there was two things that I got from this conversation that I still think about regularly. And the first thing is the power of intention. And I know it's something we hear about, but I actually have not brought intention into my life as much as I should. And now, because of him and because of what we talked about on the podcast, and then him supporting me and setting intentions after that conversation when we were just hanging out, has been so helpful for me to really amalgamate and create and direct the energy to where it's going. So after we recorded that podcast, we were hanging out and I had a conversation scheduled with someone later that day about something. It was someone that I was dating. And I was just thinking about it, kind of going in willy-nilly. And he was like, what's your intention for this? Like, how can you support this person and support yourself, and creating the energy and setting the stage for the most powerful situation possible? He's like, I set an intention before I go to bed. I set an intention when I wake up. I set an intention before every party I go to, every situation that I'm in, before every trip that I have. And it's like putting that prayer out and putting that like creatorship out and putting that consciousness out. And that's really re-brought intentionality intentionality into my life. And now I do that all the time with my friends before we go out. I'll do it with my clients. And we can really also allow ourselves to access expanded level mindsets. So if we think about our trip as the example, what is our intention? My intention is to tap into joy in a way that I haven't in a really long time. My intention is to experience what's possible for us in our book. My intention is to feel energized and alive and vital. My intention is to really honor my boundaries and my own needs during this time. Like now that frame of what I just said about our trip this week helps me direct energy and then also go into things with that mindset. Oh yeah, my intention is to honor my boundaries during this trip. So I'm not going to check my phone between interviews, between press things, whatever. I'm going to stay clear. And I think if we can bring intention into our life, it can be a really beautiful thing. And the second thing that he talked about that just hit me in a very unique way, his wife, he wrote down 62 or 63 things that he was looking for in a relationship. And he wrote down the things and, sort of didn't really think that he would find them or get them. And then met his wife, who was everything on his list, everything that he desired in the way that he wanted to meet her.
Wow.
And he said on their first date, he was like, I'm going to marry you. We're going to have kids. And he's like talking about how he committed in that moment where he was like, I knew that she was the one and I committed in that moment. And I think there was such a power and inspiring thing for me to hear someone commit before they have all the data. It's like he had faith in how he felt and he made the commitment just based on that feeling. And then everything after that commitment supported the commitment. So oftentimes with dating now, you need so much data and so much information before you commit. You're with them for 3 months. You want to see them in every scenario. You want to like check everything out.
There's so much conditionality around
There's so much conditionality on it. But when you actually just decide to commit, this is my person, this is what I'm going to do to make it work, and I'm here because I'm committed, everything else can just happen so much more easily and more beautifully, and it actually leaves you room for less doubt. And so I was so inspired by that too, because there's such a beauty in the masculine coming with that commitment of choice and choosing for a woman that can really just set the stage for such a beautiful relationship.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just on the intentionality piece first, I started doing that to combat my anxiety. So like my brain would go so many different places. Say it was before we went on a podcast or did a speaking engagement or did a live show. Those were big ones. Before I would have a hard conversation with someone, because my mind is really, really powerful and will try to distract me from what I really desire in this experience. So yeah, I had the same experience as you where it's like, it just like really, really directs your energy and your focus. And it does feel like protection. It feels like protection over the experience. It feels like, it's almost like a call on my team. It's God, it's your angels, it's your spirit guides. It's like, hey, y'all, huddle with me right now. This is how I want to feel. This is what I want to experience. This is what I desire. And then I think intention for me allows me to let go. Because I'm like, I've declared it. So now let's just ride. Like, let's just be present. I don't have to overanalyze or over-explain or over-prepare, even though, preparing is part of some things. But I think the intention is so much more powerful than we give it credit for. And I've also used intention to check myself, because sometimes I'll think I want something and I'm like, but what's my intention? Why do I want this? And usually I have to refine it, like
such a good one.
Sean and I kind of do this thing where I'm like, well, because sometimes in business it can get so weird, in his world of finance and whatever. And you could want to build a relationship with someone, but I'm like, why? Do you fuck with this person? No, not really, but they have access to this. And it's like, all right, well, check your intention, because if your intention isn't clear, like there's a lot of room for either mistake or miscommunication or just it not happening. So that's helped me to be like, it kind of keeps me in check.
For sure. Yeah, that's such a beautiful one. And I had this situation with someone that I had been dating, and things were getting wobbly at the end. And, I just set an intention with God where I was like, God, if you want me to talk to your son, I will. And to give him feedback and share my experience, because I had been clear and right the whole time. And I'm not perfect at all. I had been doing my own work in it. But in this situation specifically, I'd shown up right. I don't show up right all the time, but I'd shown up right. And next morning, this man, I was like, but God, I said, and this is the intention part. I said, God, if you want me to talk to your son, I will. But he needs to reach out to me, and he needs to say clearly and explicitly that he wants to have a clearing conversation and he wants to hear from me. Next morning, 11 a.m., this man texts me, I want to have explicit conversation. I want to hear feedback from you. And so it was also that yes for me from God, that this was blessed by God for me to give feedback to this person and to have with this person. So my intention of like, I will do this for you. I will give feedback. I will say things with love. I will help you help someone who's helping a lot of people. This man has impact. And like, then I can know that it's by God and for God. So with the same thing with your relationship thing with business, if you have the intention, okay, my intention is to serve, my intention is to help people, my intention is to this, and things don't happen, or things, you know what I mean? Then you can be clear that it's not meant to be, and it's not like of the right energy.
Yes, it really clarifies things.
Yeah,
and purifies things, actually.
Really. I'll do that all the time, where I'll do that a lot with my insight and feedback. I'm like, God, if you want me to say what I see, I need you to have them ask me. I need them to ask me, can you tell me what you see? Or can you give me your insight? Can you give me your feedback? Because if you're a seer and you're a psychic or you have sight, you need to be invited in, And to just the point of commitment. Yeah. I mean, I experienced that when Sean and I reconnected. I knew in the moment, but I didn't really know a lot of, like, we had been friends and like connected, but like, I just knew. But I didn't, like, my soul knew what I was embarking on, but like my human was like, well, I don't know a lot about this person. But it's just such a specific feeling that I had never, ever, ever felt in my life, because I had normally just done that condition highway thing where I'm like, well, they don't do this, they don't make me feel this, or oh, they reacted this way, that's a no, this is a yes, that's a no. It was just, whack-a-mole with all the things that could be wrong or annoying or whatever. And it was just different. And I think it was less about him and more about just what I've like cultivated within myself, like that trust. Yes. In that trust and confidence in I've always got me. So even if I embark on a relationship and, there is a lot of unknown, I'm good no matter what. And I trust myself in those moments of unknown. And I trust myself to, like lean in and not lean out. Yeah, that's the thing with commitment. It's about self-trust, not even trusting the other. Yeah. I always say this to people that I work with. I'm like, you just need to trust yourself that you'll leave if you have to. And that can also release pressure from people. If they're getting married or engaged or whatever, it's like, hey, this should be a commitment forever. But like also, if you're going to freak out about it and make it a thing, you can also trust yourself that you're going to leave if you have to. And that, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't have to be permanent. So totally, you guys are going to love this conversation. I really, really appreciate and am grateful for him and his teachings. I'm grateful we got to connect. It was such a pleasure. And you can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Instagram. It's Garrain Jones on both. And I love his content. I think he's an amazing being, and he's making a lot of music right now. He's doing retreats. He has one in June in Austin. It's called the Inner Child Retreat. Or it's cool. It's one in June in Austin. It is doing inner child work, and it'll be really, really beautiful. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for joining us, Garrain. And if you haven't picked up our new book, please do so now. It is out everywhere in bookstores, online, almost30.com/book. The response has been incredible. Thank you so much for all of your support, for reading the book, for truly, taking your own life and development seriously. I know that's not an easy task, and
the fact that this book has found so many of you at the perfect time does not surprise me, but I'm just so, so grateful.
Yeah, we love you guys so much. Thank you for being in our lives, in our community. Thank you for being what Almost 30 is, like all based on you and how you show up in the world. So you're the best. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Okay, let's talk about metabolism for a second. Because if you're like me, you hit a point in your 30s where your body's just like, we're going to start making this a little harder for you. Energy dips, digestion slows, and suddenly your usual routine isn't cutting it anymore. Yeah. I've hit that point. It's okay. I'm agile. We can do this. And I also found Pendulum, and specifically their probiotic called Metabolic Daily. And wowie. Okay. This is a total game changer. This is a 4-in-1 daily probiotic designed to support a healthy gut, help your body metabolize sugars and carbs, enhance natural GLP-1 production, and support your immune system. So basically, it's working with your body instead of you trying to out hustle it. And here's what makes it so freaking powerful. It's formulated with a rare probiotic strain called Akkermansia. So I shortened that name, but Akkermansia is what we are going to call it. The scientists call it a keystone strain for gut health. So most of us don't have enough of it or any at all, and you can't get it from food. So Pendulum is making it really easy to get this missing piece back into your microbiome. I'm really excited for you to start taking Metabolic Daily. I've noticed a difference in my digestion, my energy throughout the day, and just feeling more in sync with how my body processes food. It's subtle, but really powerful. So go to pendulumlife.com and use the code almost30 for 20% off all Pendulum membership first orders. That's pendulumlife.com and the code is almost30. And if you're shopping on Amazon, go to amazon.com/pendulum and use code almost30 at checkout under the payment section for 20% off Pendulum subscription first orders. Just click use a gift card, voucher, or promo code when selecting a payment method and enter almost30 in the box. Again, that's at amazon.com/pendulum using the code almost30 in the use a gift, voucher, or promo code box. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real. Mental health used to be something we whispered about. Now, thankfully, the conversation is getting louder, more open, and way more inclusive. But we're not all the way there yet. I'm sure we can agree. A recent study found that 26% of Americans still avoid seeking help for fear of judgment. That's not just heartbreaking. It's something we can really change, you know? Taking care of your mental health doesn't mean something's wrong. It means you're human. Hear that? It means you're human. Therapy isn't just for major trauma, it's for learning how to cope with everyday stress, build better habits, set boundaries, and honestly just feel like yourself. And the ripple effect, it could be huge. It benefits your family, your work, your relationships, honestly, everything. I've been in therapy for about 7 years now. It is the best decision and investment I've ever made. What I love about BetterHelp is how accessible it makes therapy. They've spent over 10 years matching people with the right licensed therapist, and they have a network of over 30,000 therapists with a wide range of specialties. It's completely online, which means you can do it from home, your car, your lunch break, whatever, honestly, whatever fits your life. And if you ever feel like your therapist isn't quite the right fit, no big deal. You can switch anytime at no extra cost. They make it so easy. We're all better with help, right? BetterHelp.com/almost30 to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/almost30.
For a lot of the people that are listening right now, they're experiencing this time on the planet where there's a lot of unknowns, where they feel like they're made for more, where they feel this almost spiritual agitation and unknown on the path. What would you say to those people? And what have you been experiencing this year, especially spiritually on the planet? Because it definitely feels like something's happening.
Yeah. So, in some crazy way, I have turned my special needs because I was had a speech impediment and I was in special education classes, and what would normally take you 6 days to learn would take me 6 months to learn. And so I turned being slow into a superpower called being really efficient. So I can gather a lot of data without missing anything. And so inside of that, it has allowed me to see patterns and sequences where most people are running their programs like this. And puzzles are my favorite things since I was a little kid. I love puzzles. And this is why like fostering the frequency of healing and understanding energy, frequency, and vibration, and the vibration underneath the trauma. It's so easy to find because it's pattern recognition and all those things, but it's also pattern recognition in the sequences and the seasons of life. Like when something crazy happens in the media and all of a sudden it's like few people start dying, and then there's like these things that tend to happen all the time that I've noticed since I was like 7 years old. So what I've noticed is when it's kind of like when you are in the ocean and then the wave, and when you know a big wave is coming, there's a big pull, there's like and then it starts to dump on you. But if you're not ready for the wave, it's going to crash on you. But if you understand how the pull happens and you know how to position your body in the water, you can actually ride the wave for a long time. So I've learned how to position myself when I start noticing the pull of life and the pull of weird things in the media. I'm like, okay, so it's now time for me to start going deeper in prayer, deeper in meditation, slowing down, not being on the grind of work, because you can sleep on a win and wake up with a loss. And so it's like not being on the grind. It's like I'm double timing my personal growth, double timing things that I've been personally avoiding and running away from, because we all have those things. It's like, oh, this is too hard. I don't want to deal with it. I'll pay somebody to do it. It's when the pull of life starts doing, and I'm noticing a bunch of stuff starts happening, I will intentionally put myself through voluntary discomfort. That's running 64 miles over a mountain, 3.5 miles in the ocean. You don't have to do that, but it's something that is going to, I don't want to say stress my body out, but put me almost through this resurrection process where I don't even know who the version of me on the other side of this long run or lifting heavier than I've ever lifted. And what I've found is when you get out ahead of expanding your capacity, when it comes time for whatever happens in the world that typically bounces people out and crashes them down because they don't have the capacity to even hold their countenance, I kind of flow through it every single time because I get out ahead of the wave.
So much of what you said I related to. I think when we talk about you changing physically or like doing the run or anything like that, it's like, how can we change the cells so that the rest of the body can recalibrate to the new frequency that you're trying to create?
Absolutely.
So I think that's such a disservice of education and learning, of how we're just sitting and in the mind, and then we're wanting the rest of the body to calibrate to the new information. I'm reading this book called The Philosophy of Walking, and it talks a lot about how a lot of the greats like Aristotle and all these things would process and do a lot of thought through walking, and how the connection between the brain and the body cellularly promotes and allows us to really have transformation and change from what we learn. So when we talk about things going on the planet, like you were talking about before, where it's trying to pull us and it's trying to hook us and it's trying to like do all these things, a lot of women listening are like, I need to stay in the know. I need to be in the loop. They feel bad, like they're doing something wrong if they're not paying attention or plugged in. What would you say to them?
I would say there's nothing to do. I think there's more power in your being than it is in the action of doing. Let me go do this. Let me go do this. Let me go do more. Let me go action. Let me go do. Because the moment you're doing, you're operating from your human context. We are taught to read linearly, which means we think linearly, and our actions are linear action steps, but we're multidimensional beings. So anytime, most of the time when you're in the doing because of a reaction, you're operating from only one dimension. So being a multidimensional being, when you tap into stillness and trust, that's a big thing. And most people don't know how to trust deeply. And you activate deep intuition through deep trust. Surface level intuition, surface level trust. They're connected. And so when you are focused on anything that has you in the body, I have a thing that says there's head truth and there's body truth. I call that vibrational truth. Head truth is full of lies. It was like, oh yeah, I'm smart and this person is really intelligent. Intelligence in the head is somebody with a great memory that is really good at studying. Intelligence in the body is what creates babies, is the real wisdom. It's the inherent and ancestral wisdom. And when my wife was, we were fortunate to have 2 home births. And when the doula was like, Blair, push, she was like, I don't have to. Something is already pushing.
Wow.
That. So when you're in your being, you operate from your true intelligence. So anything that will have you in the body, not the head, not the head. You want them both, but something that'll have you in the body can operate your vibration and your frequency, and anything you're sending out is going to come back.
How do you explain vibrational frequency to people that are like maybe new to the conversation and concept of frequency?
Yeah. So 2 things. Energy. 1, energy goes where energy flows. You can be in a room full of people who don't like you. Nobody's talking. And you can feel it. You can be at a club or a nightclub or something. You're like, well, something feels off. And all of a sudden there's a fight. So, or you can, right before you get to your grandmother's house, and you know the food she cooks, you know, the love, cook with no ingredients. And before you get inside, you're like, nobody's talking. And you can feel that. So that energy is the overflow of the vibration in your body that produces a frequency. When that frequency comes out, the release of the frequency turns into energy. And another way to explain it is, think in terms of a piano. You can play keys, and anybody who's musically or not musically inclined, there's like, wow, there's a beautiful song. It just makes me feel. It just feels so good. But then you hear a horror movie and it's like, and it does something to your body.
Discrepancy.
So what's happening actually is humans are, we're like pianos. We're like literally notes on a piano. Any key that you push produces a vibration that turns into a frequency that turns into energy. And if you play one note off key, you're like, oh, it's a bad song. There's no such thing as a bad song or a bad note. It's just surrounded around the wrong combination of notes. So you could be like, oh, I have a bad life. No, you just are surrounded around the wrong combination of thoughts, the wrong combination of people, the wrong combination of food. And so if you think in terms of combination, that same off note, which is a vibration, which is it's a form of sound. Couple it with some other notes that complement that note, you have a beautiful song. So if you think in terms of that, I would say that energy goes where energy flows. The better you feel, authentically, the better your life. The worse you feel, the worse your life. And your life's not happening to you, it's following you.
I love that. When we think about reading energy, something that I often think about is like, I remember the early days of my journey, I'd be like, energy doesn't lie. And I'd be like, I'm going into a room and the vibes are bad. And they probably could be, I'm very psychic, so they could be or not. But oftentimes what I was reading was the vibes through my own auric field. So my own biases, my own opinion, like I can't trust anybody or everyone's, whatever. So how do we have people, especially women, be able to read energy better, trust their intuition, but also not have it be something where it's like their inner child that's scared or like a part of them that's scared being what's reading, but more so like their actual intuition?
Set a powerful intention. The intention is the seed. It's the seed of the soul.
Yeah.
And when you don't set a powerful intention, I'll give you an example in a second. It's basically like rolling the dice, and it's like you either playing a game of chance or intention. But when you set a powerful intention, me and my wife, before any love meeting, before any party we go to, it's like, okay, what is your intention? My intention is to be in my body, have so much fun, and flirt with you throughout the day. And then her intention, she's like, my intention is to meet 3 new people. So now it's telling the intelligence of your body where to listen from. So that's why when you go to a big conference and it's 20,000 people and there's 30 speakers on stage, if you don't have a powerful intention, you're going to listen from everywhere.
Yeah.
That's like putting a 20 addresses in a GPS system and wondering why you're not getting anywhere. But the moment you say, my intention, like literally it's inside, you're using your inside eyes, not the outside intention. My intention is to discover what is in the way of me being able to lead 20,000 people. You are going to hear everything that has a fragment that is directly connected to what you planted inside that is like attached to your subconscious mind.
I literally love that. I think, yeah, because I was thinking about all the times when I've had intention with things. It's so much better. I need
So
to
much
get,
better.
I need to be crystal fucking clear though, because
Crystal
sometimes
clear.
I'll like go on dates or something, and I'm like, oh, my intention is to have fun and connect with this person. Then we live. I'm like, we had fun and connected. I'm like, but I don't want to date them. I'm like, so I
Right.
should be like, and end it if it's not
Right.
good. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like be like. I also say that with a lot of the women I work with, and it's like, be clear with your guides and your team, like your
Yeah,
angels, like
absolutely.
be like very direct and very clear. This is something I don't want to experience. This is something I want to experience. I think having spiritual sovereignty and spiritual power rests almost, and spiritual clarity with all the beings that are working with you, your angels and guides, is actually essential, because it not only puts you in a space of power in the relationship, but it also really guides your experience in a way that allows you to create the life that you love. And I think until I gave myself permission, it was almost like I felt like I was, I don't know, I'm talking about this, but I felt like I was victim to what my guides and team wanted me to do, or what other beings wanted me to do or experience, like bad dreams or energies or anything like that. Do you ever have anything like that with your guides and team?
I had it.
Okay.
But when I say I'm crystal clear, I'm even crystal clear before I go to bed.
Cool.
Before I go to, oh man, it's like we go into theta.
Yeah.
It like erases the ego, and it's like, man, you can use that. You tap into the.
What do you do before bed?
So before I go to bed, me and my wife will say a prayer, and then I'll say, God, use me to communicate a message to humanity. Let me borrow your eyes so that I can see what you see through me. And when I'm asleep, it's like maybe I'm working on a song, or maybe I'm working on something on a project that I've been stuck on. Show me clearly what this thing is, and give me the tools to be able to harness it when I wake up. I will say it, and then all of a sudden, wake up, 2:37. Most people go back to sleep. Soon as I wake up, I put it down, because I'm not operating from this 3D realm. I'm still in theta. As soon as it's like, you're like right here, and it doesn't matter what it sounds like. So because I'm between both dimensionalities, I get more, I just get more access. And so I'll do that every single night, but I'm so crystal clear. And so it gives me, when I go for my 5 a.m. runs in the morning, I'm so crystal clear. And the level of clarity, you look at all these leaves, you look at nature, everything has symmetry to it. So when we are symmetrical with our language and our words and the direction, now I'm unattached to the outcome, because I know it's delivered. I mean, 1,000 out of 1,000 times. When you go into ceremony, when you go into prayer, when you go into meditation, when you have that powerful intention, it sees itself through every single time. And that's where the trust comes. I mean, blind faith. I don't need enough physical human evidence to see beyond the world of thought. So it's like, what's your name?
Krista
What's your last name?
Williams,
How tall are you?
5'8",
What size shoe do you wear?
10.
What's your mom's name?
Terry,
What's your dad's name?
Tom,
What color are your eyes?
Green.
See that? Bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam, bam. Most people with what they want, who they want to date, what they're calling in, are not like that. You want to get what you're calling in to the embodiment of how you say your own name.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
when it's like lived, because now you're emanating a completely different frequency out.
Yeah.
Whatever signal you send out without clarity, that you're sending out an unclear signal. So that's the TV going, shh.
Yeah. I think a lot of people wake up and they wait for another signal to move through them. So they get on the internet or on their phone, and then whatever signal's being broadcasted through the internet or their phone, and then they're just like a transmission vehicle of that. So that's why for me, prayer, my morning routine in the prayer and just having God be my foundation for the day. I hear you say God too.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, they don't feel like they can have the intention or have the request of God because their idea of God is not the collaborator, it's not a loving God, maybe. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and I grew up Catholic. And so I really had to reclaim my God
Yeah.
and the God that I know and the God that I am. But what would you say, like, what's your relationship to God? How do you use the word God? Like, did you have a journey with God?
Oh, big time. So I grew up, my mom, we went to a Methodist church. My other friends went to a Baptist church. I went to a Catholic church, got really bored. I was like, it's way too
It's
cold in
so
here.
good.
And then my best friend was Jewish, and I'd go to temple with him. And then my other best friend was Muslim, and I'd go to the mosque with him. And my favorite uncle was gay. So I was a little kid with a very open mind. And I remember being 9 years old, going to a non-denominational church where there was a guy in there with pink hair and clapping. And I was like, why does this feel right? There was something about that. Now, as I was going, there's like the version of church that people force on you, and the version of God and the version of Jesus is like, you got to do this. And if you don't believe this, you're going to go to hell and and all these different things. And that's what I grew up in. And then I remember when I fell on hard times, living in my car for 2.5 years, $250,000 in debt, try to take my life twice, ex-convict, was in prison from 2002 to 2005, and life was just hard. And my girlfriend broke up with me. My daughter pretty much disowned me. My mom was dying in the hospital. All of this was happening at the same time. So in 2011, there was a moment. It was 3:43 in the morning, and my whole life, I've always talked about what I don't want. I don't want this. I don't want this kind of girl, and I don't want this, and I don't want that. And there was one day where I just yelled out, and I said, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people, and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in. Just show me a sign. Show me a sign. A week later, I'm at a gas station, and a homeless guy asked me for money. And I say, you have more money than me. He said, change your mindset, change your life. Homeless guy. Those words, I've heard people give me advice, but it was something about those words. It's almost like life had to break me down so much to where I would actually listen to a message come from a homeless guy, because a message can come from anywhere. And so I was to get to, because I had to give you this context to get to the conversation on God. I had fallen away from any kind of spiritual connection. I was so far away. And I feel like I missed every sign to pay attention, to the point where I had to be stripped away of everything to then see and learn how to do the opposite of everything that I was doing in areas of my life where I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in relationships. I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't happy in my family. I wasn't happy with my weight. I wasn't happy in anything. So that opposite had me to go back to church, had me to read books, had me to stop going to nightclubs and chasing women and doing this, had me to start getting healthy, had me to start reading self-help books. When I went back to church, the pastor said, y'all church church folks get on my nerves. He was like, you just run people out of the church. It's like, you're going to go to hell. And you try to sound like me. I'm a pastor. I've been called to be on the pulpit. He said, so I talk like a pastor, but you could be in health and wellness. And I had just started in health and wellness. Talk like somebody in health and wellness, but only come from the Spirit. Come from the Spirit. And it was in that moment, I didn't need no longer to separate myself, that I could be fully me. So if a curse word comes out of my mouth, it's me. I can be authentically myself and still be a lover of God. And instead of calling myself a Christian, which there's nowhere in the Bible that says, I want you to call yourself a Christian, I became a follower of Christ. That is very different. It's vastly different. So I developed my own relationship, got my own Bible. And that doesn't mean that I didn't learn from all these other different things. And when I started really diving into so many other texts, it was all saying the same thing. When I read the Quran and when I read the Bible and when I was studying from just like listening to my friends talk about, underneath was the same thing. It was the same thing. And I was like, okay, I know who's assigned to me. It's kind of like the Matrix. I know Christ was assigned to my life. And I would never, ever follow a God that would say, hey, that kid was born in this family that has no internet, no nothing, in this tribe, wherever. And because they don't, because they don't become a believer with no access to humanity whatsoever, they're going to hell. I would never serve a God that way. So that's why when me developing my own relationship, which is what he asked for, I really start to tap into, if I'm made in his image and I look in the mirror and I don't see God through my eyes, then I've missed the boat. And so this is what really, how my life exponentially grew, because I knew that it wasn't me. It was a collaboration. So anything they were like, there's something about Garrain. They're feeling the Spirit. They're feeling the Spirit all day. I don't need the credit. I use my platform to elevate who like lives. Give me the credit. Watch what I can do for your life.
You can feel when the Holy Spirit's in the room.
Yeah.
You can go places, like I was a few places recently, spiritual places in LA, and there was one space I was like, oh, dang, Spirit is not in the room.
Yeah.
Just disjointed energy. Like it never fully went into like the, that moment. That's why I do love, I would say my algorithm of my spiritual practice is like 30% Christian. Like I love like so much of Christianity. And then I have just my other stuff that I dig in, but like I do love Christian church because you can feel fucking the Holy Spirit in the room. It is like palpable. You feel that really crystallized Christ energy that feels so incredibly nice and feels so good. It's so interesting too, because in a lot of spiritual texts, even in the Bible, there is information about having that wrestle with God. Like it is a part of our spiritual path and process, and God can handle the criticism. God can handle the fear. God can handle the doubt. Like a part of the conversation I think people should alleviate themselves or give permission to themselves is to fight with God and be like you said, I give up. Like I surrender. Like what is the issue? Like what do you want from me? And developing that honest relationship as the foundation leads you closer to like the true relationship where you're collaborating with God in life and you're just really creating this life that is like specific to you but also for him. And I think in my path, having the one focus on the one thing of God has helped me so much.
Yeah.
I think before I was like, what texts, what books, what gurus, what things, what practices. And now it's like, oh no, it's all for God. It's all for God, which is also through me. When you mentioned that a lot of the spiritual texts you had listened to and learned and tapped into at the beginning of your faith or journey, or just your journey, said similar things. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, because I was even thinking when you were talking, what would be some of those things that were similar throughout a lot of them?
Love your neighbor. Let go of resentment. There's like simple things.
Yeah.
But a lot of times simple things It's easy to not do.
Oh my gosh. In my coaching, I've been thinking about cliches a lot because I'm like, man, cliches just work a lot of times. It's true.
Yeah. So it's like, love your neighbor, let go of resentment, forgive. Like I could hear it. They may not use the same language, but it's the
Forgiveness is huge.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's like me forgiving the 2 men who murdered my father
Mm-hmm.
set me completely free because I wish death upon them
Mm-hmm.
and their families.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment I was in Boston at a speaking event, this guy was looking at me, and I mean, like he beelined to me. He was like, "I just want to apologize." I said, "For what?" He said, "When you forgave those 2 men who murdered your father on stage, I've never seen what freedom looks like. 20 years ago, I went to prison for an attempted murder, and I just got out last night, and I was going to go kill the guy that snitched on me tonight, but I saw what freedom looks like. And I want to say thank you, and I want to apologize on behalf of those 2 men who murdered your father." And 13-year-old Garrain got the closure he always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power of forgiveness. You read it. I mean, I read that everywhere, and I'm like, okay, it's clear.
Yeah.
And people, there's a lot of people that don't have an issue forgiveness. The thing that I want to make mention, it's not the action of forgiveness. It's the forgiveness frequency.
I was going to say, I want to talk about the energetics of forgiveness.
Yes. So think about a snake charmer. He's blowing music, a frequency, and then all of a sudden it starts going like that. There's a frequency that's causing it to rise. That comes from continuous repetition. So that's why some people say, "Oh, like, well, I already forgave, and why is it still there?" I was like, yeah, you did it as an action. That's like saying, "Oh, I brushed my teeth last week. Why is it stinky 10 days later?" Well, the whole purpose is to do it every day. You renew your hygiene every day. You take a shower every day. Renewing your mind, renewing your heart, renewing your spirit, your soul. So I've created a forgiveness practice. Anytime I go to the restroom, whether it's number 1, number 2, sorry for the TMI. No, I'm not so sorry. You're releasing. So I use a physical of releasing to release forgiveness. So now I'm already leveraging something I do every single day. So whether I'm forgiving myself for being so hard on myself, I forgave those men maybe more than 500 times. It's because it's like it's like a baby learning how to walk when you want to develop the frequency that wells up inside of you. So that's why it's a continuous practice, a continuous repetition, and then it becomes automated. It becomes a part of you. So I'm a forgiving kind of person. Now it's a part of my identity.
With forgiveness, I love parts work. Have you heard of parts work, internal family systems? I love parts work because it's almost like going to the 13-year-old and like being with them and their anger and their frustration and everything that they've been through. Because I think sometimes what can happen is the attachment to the outcome of what forgiveness will give us will be like the hook or the carrot. And that's ourself right now that's looking for that. But there's parts of us that are holding on to those experiences as a way to protect us or as a way to like make sure that we understand something. And so when we can really be with and honor and listen to the parts that are holding on to the pain or holding on to the struggle that they went through, that's when I think we can have the true liberation of forgiveness that we all seek. It's like so stunning. There was something that you said earlier that I kind of want to take us on a little journey on, and that was about calling in the partner.
We get to talk about love?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about love. I want to talk about the masculine frequency. And what we were talking about was the intention of calling in the one.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what you think about this, and I want to explore this a little more because in my journey, I was married. I was in a long-term relationship with someone that was great, and just in the end, we were on a different growth path. And when I met them, they were every single thing on my list. But my list at that time was just sort of a short-sighted list for what I truly wanted from a soul heart perspective. And so now I've sort of let go of a list and I'm just sort of looking for the frequency and looking for the experience. I guess what's your balance of that? Because I feel like a lot of times people have these lists and it's kind of like fear-based or ego-based, but then we have a soul list.
Mhm.
How do you balance those?
So there's 3 categories. I did it for work.
Mhm.
I did it for business. I did it for everywhere in my life.
Hmm.
But one place I didn't do it was for relationships. But it's the specificity of it. And so I would actually limit what I actually wanted because I was being too picky. I was like, I want a nice girl, exotic, and da da da. I said, and I would get it. And I was like, yo, why do I feel like I'm energetically babysitting this? Like,
Mhm.
it's the same thing every time. Why do
Mhm.
I keep? So I read a book called When God Winks. It was the first edition.
All right,
They've
well,
had 7 editions, but it's the first edition with the purple and gold paperback. It's the old one. They had this one on soulmates in there. And every book that I've ever read on that had a relationship section, I always skipped it because I was like, man, every time I read something, something happens. And
what?
this thing happens. I was like, I don't want a relationship. So finally coming back from Brazil, I read the chapter on mates, and then it was something about don't be afraid to be picky.
Mhm.
And so I wrote a list. Normally it was 3 things on that list. I wrote 7 things and I stopped myself. I was like, oh no. I was like, wait a second. This person doesn't exist. So it was like a Build-A-Bear. I said, whoever contains these coordinates will have my babies. I wasn't having no more babies. I was never getting married. Look, nothing. Like I'm this person, but if this person exists, I'm going to write down exactly what it is. Category 1, all of the attributes. And you know what I wrote down? 62 attributes. I was trying to stop at 7.
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual,
Well,
everything.
so it was like great hygiene is masculine, can easily slip into her feminine, um, knows how to make money, but loves being taken care of, loves personal growth.
Mhm.
Like I was like really going in there. I've been specific with everything. And I went into there and it's like loves animals, reads books, great sense of
Key.
fashion. So I went to everything. Second category, how I wanted to feel in the relationship.
Mm.
And so I wanted to feel seen without having to say, "Hey, can you see me?" I want to
Mhm.
feel acknowledged and recognized.
Mhm.
But like I don't want to have to point it out. I want you to have the calibration to be able to see it. So I did it. The last one is the top 5 places that you've never been to before
Hmm.
that you would meet this person, but make sure that those places are connected to the attributes.
Mhm.
My circle star one, personal development seminar. I met my wife at a personal development seminar while I was serving on the committee. She literally walked through the door and I'm serving and I'm like, oh, through the doorway of service,
Wow.
God brought me my future.
Did you see her and know?
I knew there was something about her. I
Yeah.
was like, there's something, and we were just friends.
Huh.
And so it was just like, it's like every time she texts me and there's like there's something happening and I don't know what that is. And then on our first date, I saw something I had never seen before in a woman,
Mm.
a future.
Mm. Mhm.
I never been in a relationship, saw past next week. It's just we've been sleeping together, and then it's like, what are we? I'm like, oh, the time thing. And then my little boy that didn't want to see her sleeping with anybody would be in something for several years. I knew deep down inside I never wanted to be in.
Mhm.
But this one was actually different. It was like a flower growing in real time.
Hmm.
I found that list that I made because I had lost it for 3 years.
Mhm.
Interesting that when I lost the list, my daughter had come back into my life, who I did not have a relationship with.
Mm.
And when I became the most powerful representation. I literally made an affirmation on myself. I had to see myself different. I am the most powerful representation of who my daughter will marry one day. I started seeing myself different and seeing women through my daughter's eyes, not my dad's eyes. Just by seeing myself different, I started positioning myself different. You know, the wave that I was telling you about? I started positioning myself different. And the moment I found safety in my body, because my daughter was training me and I didn't even know it, because this is the only person I let all the way in. That's when I met Blair. So it's almost like God said, you handled what you were meant to handle. Now, let me show you what I can do through the doorway of service.
Wow. I definitely think that there's like a capacity for our ability to love that we're just sort of stretched in. So it's like the daughter creates that opening and then the wife and then your kids. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's almost like too much love if we just go from like
Yeah,
this to like the
absolutely.
family and kids.
I tell couples who are just getting going, I said, start with a plant, share a plant together, because you've got to nurture the roots. You got to water it. It's the same principles in the mind. If a woman is in the garden, I need every man to learn the garden. Learn landscaping, because you'll know what invasive species are. You'll know how to take care of the land. You'll know how to nurture it. You'll know how to see things. Most people, it's the same attribute on how to take care of your woman. And so I tell couples, get a plant together. Y'all share nurturing, then get a pet together. Learn the discipline, share it. Learn about the different barks when the dog is hungry, when the dog is afraid, and learn about the different, because then you'll learn about the tonality of your partner. It's all the same. And then that's what goes right. It's all of that is training for baby. It's training for the relationship.
How do you see the difference? So when you were on the committee and you met her at a personal growth seminar, how do you balance being always on a growth of healing or being always on a path of healing and growth, but not wanting to be perfect to be in relationship? Like, where were you at then before you met her? Were you like very healed? Like, how far were you in your spiritual journey?
I mean, I was deep in my spiritual journey. The thing about it is I'm committed to growth forever.
Yeah.
Like I look at the trees. They're going to keep growing.
Yeah.
They're going to produce as much fruit as possible, as many leaves as possible, go up as high as they can, stretch their roots down as far as they can. So if I separate myself from nature, then I'm operating from the human. So I would rather be, the only reason why humans have so much difficulty when it comes to growth is because we're the only life forms that have been given the dignity of choice. I don't feel like working out. I don't want to do this today. I'll do it next week. And I'm going to get around of it. January 1st is going to be my year. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to finally start to like love and provide my spouse with chocolates during Valentine's Day. Glorified marketing plan. You could have done that last week. You know what I'm saying? It's like Thanksgiving and Christmas and all these different things where it's like this marketing plan called calendar is controlling your actions and your emotions and your money. And so I believe that when you really get back to the core of what's actually controlling my energy, and you start navigating your own energy, it's going to have you think different, be different, do different, and create completely different results. You can get the same result, but it can feel completely different based off of how you feel in your body.
It's crazy. I'm getting such visuals about the calendar over the year and the holidays that we have.
And they're adding more.
And the fact that it does manage and control and siphon energy and moves energy of the collective. Valentine's Day, like Thanksgiving, like any, like President's Day is all sort of like, I don't know if it's energy harvesting always. I have my eyes twitching, but yeah, you just think when you are awakened to another aspect of how they control us or how they run us or how they keep us in this specific way.
Yeah.
And the fact that also these holidays have just been repeating over and over and over again.
And then we have leap year, and then we have the daylight savings
Oh, I
time,
know, I know.
and then we have these things. Then there's the Gregorian calendar.
Yes.
Then there's the Mayan calendar.
Yes.
What day is it? How about we just try the cycle of the moon that never changes every 28 days?
Yeah.
Well, how old are you? I actually don't really know. That's probably why we're all messed up with this calendar.
Yeah.
When there's other calendars that have different
Yeah.
times and different things and all this other stuff. So what I think is when you truly connect to your deep self, that's why the work is so important, because you're going to meet more versions of you. You'll tap into the multidimensionality part of you, which is the real version of you. If you operate linearly, you're done for. But that's the way they train us to read. So normally it was like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Garrain, I don't really believe in this multidimensionality. Really? You ever had a dream before? Where you think that comes from? You ever had an intuition and a hunch and then it happens? That ain't coming from this meat suit, this human. Like, why do your hands just do that? Like, there's other things that are happening simultaneously, which is why the meditation can drop you into a deeper state, which is why they have theta brain waves while you're sleeping, which is why your ego just goes away. And so I think if people start really getting curious, don't worry about getting, okay, there's so much stuff to learn. Here's the one thing. Here's one thing I want you to learn. What makes you sad? What makes you happy? When was the last time you played, but you weren't playing to escape? You weren't working out to escape. You weren't listening to music to escape. When was the last time you listened to music to just enjoy the texture of art? You play to like activate that little kid inside of you, where you transcend time and space. When was the last time? Figure out how to do that. That's going to make your whole life change.
Because it's commitment to the flow. It's like commitment to presence, which is so huge. And yeah, inner child work was something I remember I resisted for so long because I had a protector part in me that really didn't want to let access to the inner child, didn't trust anybody, So when I talk about inner child work, I really have people work with the protectors that protect the inner child, because oftentimes the inner child is protected by a lot of different addictions or limiting beliefs or stuff. But once you have access to that and you're able to like reparent that, and it is like the best. A lot of these concepts like inner child work or even like frequencies or what we're talking about, it's like, or even the multidimensionality are felt sense for me. It's like, ooh, I know what that feels like in my body. For people that haven't felt it, like what would you offer for them? Like, I would love for everyone to experience what it's like to parent your inner child or feel into their multidimensionality. How do you think we can help people get there so they have that felt sense as an anchor?
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to write with your dominant hand a letter to your little self. Like really center yourself and then write a letter. Most people have left what you wanted to do as a little kid, the things that used to make you happy, whether it was just like laying in the grass, going on a slip and slide. And if there's any aspect of yourself that you left that actually made you happy and brought you just joy, even if you're 4, write a letter from your big self to your little self. Say, I apologize for leaving you. When you're done with that letter, switch to your non-dominant hand, which operates a different part of your brain. Normally, when you write with your non-dominant hand, it looks like the little kid writing. But also, it activates your ability to adapt. So it's like disrupting the habitual nature of your brain because you're doing this right here. Write a letter from your little kid self. And whatever comes out, let it. And then when it comes out, just know that that's what the kid has been holding in. Mine was like, F you left me, and da da da, and all these different things. You changed your name so that you can escape and all that other stuff. And then after that, I was like, oh my goodness, I escaped my childhood so that I can go and portray myself. So I went from Stefan, which is my middle name, back to Garrain. And the moment I went back and reclaimed my childhood, there was a surge of power that I had never felt in my life. Even when I would shake people's hands and say Garrain Jones. And I was like, yo, there's something happened. That is when a lot of the exponentiality, the big growth happened in my business and my money and so many things that were falling away. But it's because I was vibrating at a level that I don't consciously remember by coming back home to my original self.
Okay, I'm officially in my super supplement era. Do you want to join me? Okay, no, but for real, I have to tell you about one supplement that's become a staple in my wellness routine. It's called astaxanthin. And if you're thinking, asta what? Yeah, what is that word? I felt the same way until I learned how powerful this stuff is. We talked to the founder of AX3, David Wadamal, and wow, I learned so much. So basically, astaxanthin is this marine supernutrient that's actually produced by microalgae. In the ocean, it helps protect against UV damage, which is kind of wild on its own. But what's even cooler, it's the same nutrient that gives salmon the strength to swim upstream and supports their baby's development. Huh? Nature, honestly, is insane and does not play. So what does that mean for us? Well, astaxanthin is one of the most unique antioxidants out there. It literally spans your cellular membranes, protecting lipids, proteins, and DNA from oxidative damage. Translation, it helps support your skin, joints, muscles, brain, heart, and healthy aging. Honestly, it's one of those rare supplements that checks so many boxes. And we're not just talking hype over here. Over 3,000 scientific papers and 100 human studies back it up. Isn't that incredible? I've personally noticed a difference in my energy, recovery, skin clarity, and I'm just like hopeful for like it easing the way that I age, you know? It's gentle, effective, and a bunch of my friends are now hooked on it too. So we're working with AX3 Life to bring you AX3 BioPure Astaxanthin. It's incredible. It's next level. It's more bioavailable than ordinary astaxanthin. It's absorbed 3 times more effectively, which is huge. Plus, it's made with a cleaner, more sustainable process that's better for the planet. And this is wild. AX3 was selected for the NIH-funded interventions testing program and showed a 12% increase in median lifespan in mammals. That's insane. That's never happened before in that program in its 20-year history. So it's pretty mind-blowing. As I mentioned, we had AX3's co-founder and CEO on the podcast recently, David. So check out that podcast episode. They've generously offered a 20% discount on your first order when you visit ax3.life and use promo code almost30 at checkout. That's ax3.life. And the code is almost30 for 20% off. Okay, real talk. How is it that in 2025, we still have to worry about harmful chemicals in our cookware? What? This is a part of my like overall non-toxic haul that I did in my kitchen that I think is one of the most important things. So getting rid of Teflon and other PFAS-ridden cookware. And it's really dangerous. They have forever chemicals in them that could be in our bodies forever. They can leach into our food and our home. And once they're in our bodies, they, as I said, they never leave. So it's important that we are replacing with non-toxic cookware. And my go-to is Our Place. It's a brand that's really reimagining cookware with your health in mind. And it's gorgeous, okay? I love to display it on my stovetop. But this is cookware that is completely toxin-free, made without PFAS, without PTFEs, or any of that questionable stuff. It's just high-performance pieces that actually work and that you can feel really good about using. I upgraded recently to their 4-piece cookware set, and honestly, I'm obsessed. It includes the iconic Always pan, love them, and perfect pots. So this is what I boil water in for pastas. I make sauces in. It has both full and mini sizes. So these 4 pieces replace a whole stack of bulky pots and pans. I can sear in them, boil, steam, bake, roast, you name it, with just one set. The nonstick performance is just amazing. Clean up really easy. Eggs slide around. It's awesome. It's just like functional and it's beautiful. Buying the set was the move, so I'm highly recommending buying the set. It saved me $150 compared to buying every one of those pans individually. Also, I want to shout out their appliance called the Wonder Oven. It's a genius air fryer and toaster oven hybrid that looks really chic and cooks like a dream. It's absolutely amazing, and it's, of course, non-toxic. So stop cooking with toxic cookware right now and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/almost30 and use the code almost30 for 10% off site-wide. With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with 0 risk. Healthy cooking should start with what you're cooking on. So give yourself that gift.
There's like a freedom that's released in energy, because essentially what's happening, like shamanically, it's like you're holding that version in this experience. And once they're back and liberated within you and you create that wholeness, it is such a power. And I've done a lot of inner child work, but I had this aspect of me recently in relationships and dating, this little girl that I would have come out with men that I felt safe with. And very few times in my life, like 5, including my dad. And I had this new experience recently, just to be vulnerable, with this man who's amazing, and had my inner child come out. But when the relationship got a little, we aren't in relationship, it was like that little girl thought she could only experience that like sweetness and tenderness through being with a man, a safe man. And so being able to recognize her and be with her and turn her back into me and like allow myself to experience her and the joy of what it's like to be sweet and the joy of what it's like to be tender and all of these things. I had so much energy. Like I didn't even know what to do with it. I couldn't even sleep just to have her back and like to feel her and be with her and just remember that anything that's felt with someone is through me and accessed because of me. And like, for anyone that is nervous about doing inner child work, it is like it's the biggest gift to reclaim those aspects of self. For me, it was also doing inner teen work. You've done inner teen work.
Mhm.
I'm sure your inner teen has a lot to say.
Oh yeah, teen Garrain was just most of teen Garrain was going through a lot of because I didn't start puberty until I was 18 years old, so I was little for a long time. And all the girls that I liked, they're like, "Aw, you're like my little brother," and girls would pat me on my head, and I hated that.
For sure.
So I'm 6'1" now, and I didn't grow until after I graduated from high school. And so I was dealing with being like small, girls not liking me, whatever this trauma that had built up because I thought it was my fault that my father got murdered because I was supposed to be with him that day, and maybe if those that beat him up real bad and left him in a pool of blood would have seen me, they maybe wouldn't have murdered my father. And so I was dealing with a lot of that, mind you. And then there's these 2 men that threw me in a bio and tried to drown me. So there was a lot of just trust of older people, and I was just like, I don't trust nobody that's older than me.
Mm-hmm. That authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my whole journey, whether it was in music, modeling, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, I think God wanted me to understand and understand all of the different differentiations of power and control,
Mm-hmm.
because I was in all these different
And now
things.
vibration.
Yeah, now
Is
it's
power and
vibration
control.
because it's transmuted.
Yeah.
I transmuted the construct,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, you can do this, but only if only to a certain point." And so I would my whole time, my mom would always tell me to like shut up and that I couldn't sing, and she just had an intolerance for loud singing. But there was like a control and power. It's like, I'm the authority and I don't want you to be loud, but it's a little kid who just always wanted to sing. Then I went to school and I got written up so many times and put in bad kid school and put in school suspension, student disrupting class. Why? Student singing. So my whole life, all I wanted to do was just sing. And I didn't even know that I could sing until I went to a very drunk bar. And I've never had a sip of alcohol in my life to this day. So I went to a very drunk karaoke bar and I was like, well, maybe they're not going to tell me to shut up. And so that's when I sang for the first time, this lady came up to me. She's like, tears in her eyes. Promise me you'll never stop singing. I was like,
Wow.
And that, I never stopped singing. I never stopped singing.
Those people that you meet, like the homeless man, like her, I call them poofers, because it's like God just speaking to you real quick, you know, just like saying the thing that's so weird and off. And I was on a flight the other day and there's this man sitting next to me and he was looking at my computer and he looks over at my computer and he's like, what do you do? And I was like, I have a podcast, this thing. And he points to my computer and he's like, everything you touch turns to gold, huh? And I just was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't know me. It was just like those little moments where God speaks to you through people. And oftentimes it has to be strangers. Because sometimes if it's people that we love, we like are like, oh, whatever. You love me. You know me. Like, it has to be someone that's random. So my availability for chance encounters, for conversations with strangers, for just any of God's people has been so beautiful for me because I get so many more messages. I get so much more information. I get so much more confirmation. And it's such a joy to experience the magic of like God being channeled through someone, giving me something that sometimes I don't even know if everyone else is hearing the same thing. Have you ever had that?
Oh, absolutely.
Where you're like in a conversation and someone's saying something, you're like, I think that you guys are hearing something different than what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, like this message is for you. I was in Malibu. I was getting a smoothie with a friend and there was this like an older man and he started talking to me and he's like, you need to know one thing. And I was like, what? And he's like, as beautiful as you are on the outside, he's like, you're even more beautiful on the inside. And I need you to look for that in your partner. And I was like, I didn't know you. I didn't know him at all. And it helps me to see where in my journey, I was prioritizing sort of like the hook of beauty or the hook of looks over like what's actually real.
Yeah.
And how that was like a pattern of protection almost. And I was just like, you just sent me down a whole rabbit hole, like random sir. Something I wanted to talk to you about, we kind of were touching on this before we recorded, and it's something that was coming through, was being around masculine men and women feeling safe around masculine men. What do you think right now makes it hard for women to trust men?
How deep do you want to go?
Let's go deep.
When I saw my wife give birth, I experienced a level of power I've never seen in another human in my life. Like there was something, there was like this tribal, like it was like looking in the eyes of a panther about to take down a prey. And I was like, if I wasn't grounded and confident in my own body, I would feel very insecure about that. And typically when people feel insecure around other people, they either try to separate themselves or they try to minimize them. I think, it's a theory of mine, that in the beginning, when man experienced woman giving birth, they didn't know what to do with that power. And so there was a minimization of the woman. And I think, because when I pay attention to words and how you can say, oh, I hate myself, or I don't love myself, or I'm fat, or I'm skinny, I'm too slow, and I'm always late. You manifest those words because there's frequency. Death and life is at the power of the tongue. I think when words were created, the word queen was meant to code a woman as underneath. And I think that the original kings and energy, not the word king, but the original kings are actually women. So when a woman says, I want my king to rise, I feel like she's talking about herself and she doesn't even realize it. So when she even calls herself a queen, she's literally calling herself underneath. And
Wow.
and so when I think about nature, Mother Nature, and anytime nature's out of balance, there's chaos. So I think in that time, it start to set nature out of balance inside of man and women. So now when you look 2025, you can see it. It's so out of balance. I feel like nature inside of humanity is so out of balance. There's men wanting to be women, women wanting to be men. And this is not about any pronouns or trans. It's not even anything like that. You can clearly see the feminization of many, so there is something that is out of balance. And so I think that is because women had to be forced to come up in a man's world, a man of insecurity, the insecure man's world. And so when that happened, there's this out of balance type deal. But then when I see my wife and she's deep in her feminine essence, and then she just says, I think you should go to this party. I got a hit. And I wasn't going to go, the most magical things happen. I'm 10x. I am 10x when my wife's suggestion and the whispering secrets in my ear than anything that I can do just by myself. So I see the power of a woman in her being without having to do anything, because she's doing through her being, through her mind. There's the power of of this energy. And so I think that nature is out of balance. And because nature is out of balance, the mind that you're thinking with, I'm a boss bitch, I'm an independent woman, but you want to know why you keep getting these and crushing and attracting these feminine men and not having, it's like because you are actually not even realizing you are being the man by out of nature design in a world that you had to be forced into. So I feel that when she taps into her actual nature, and most women don't even know it. I don't even know it, but I know what the ocean looks like. And I know that you haven't even experienced humans more than 7% of the ocean. But what is that strong that it'll crush a submarine only what is it, 100 meters down within half a second? I feel the woman is the world's water. That's how powerful they are. But in the doing, they take away from the power, the actual power.
Yeah, there's so much there. And I feel like I kind of want to go down the road of where women right now, I don't necessarily see them in their masculine. I see both women and men in their fear and almost in their just both in unconscious states, because women are operating from fear and then they're presenting as more masculine, kind of feeling like they have to control, feeling like they have to do all these things. And then men are being more feminized because birth control in the water. And also just like, I wonder if because they're in a fear state of women, or why do we think that men are more feminized right now? Why do we think they're becoming more feminine? Because there is a part of this spectrum that I just want to say before. Going from completely shut down emotionally, a lot of the men of my parents' generation, the generations previous, were completely shut down, completely disconnected. So I wonder if the feminization is almost connecting them more so, but we're going a little too far, and we'll find ourselves like in the middle. What do you think?
Um, I think that those who control the music control the people, because the music is energy, frequency, and
Yeah.
vibration. And you look at some of the most popular.
Oh, don't even get me started.
But this is what I'm saying.
For
And whatever is
sure.
popular is what people will do. Energy goes where energy flows.
What's the, I'm 100%, I'm excited to go down this. What's the break where people are like, no, that's not real? People will literally have a song stuck in their head, playing in their subconscious 24/7, but don't believe it's impacting collective humanity or their consciousness. Where do you think that break is?
When you say break, what do you mean?
Why aren't people connecting that music is programming us and music is influencing the collective negatively to act in certain ways?
Because of somebody will go against their own beliefs if the majority of people around them believe something else because of safety.
Yeah.
People don't want to be seen a certain way. And this is why the beauty industry is $1 trillion industry. That people put a lot of emphasis on looks and how they look and how they look. That's why people, I want to feel seen. I want to feel seen. I don't feel seen. I want to feel seen. So there's a huge emphasis. And this is why people work hard for recognition. They work harder for recognition than money. What? Because they want to be seen a certain way, celebrated, acknowledged, and all of that is seen. So what I feel is because you were saying, is it connecting them more? I was like, this balance of being able to be embodied comes with the duality of the two. And you actually transcend the construct of masculine and feminine energy because the baby doesn't even know what that is. These are names that people actually made up. And this is
It's so funny to think about like being like with a baby, like this baby's not in its this baby's not in its feminine right now.
So the baby doesn't even know what it is.
For
It's all
sure.
constructs.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is how people get trapped is because you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. Like the other day, like I don't have issue with any kind of pronouns, but this other person was like, I have an issue. These people are just making up words. I was like, let me stop you right there. All this shit is made up. Literally, the word man is made up. Finger, milk, locust, bisesquicentennial. It's all made up. And so it's a game within a game within a game within a game within a game. It's all made up. But you can't see the picture while you're in the frame.
Yeah.
And so that's why we get into this thing, and that's why trends go a certain way, and this thing goes a certain way. I didn't even realize I was singing that song. I didn't even realize it. It's that reason. And so to be brainwashed in this is why they spend all this money on commercials. It's like, I don't want this. All of a sudden I'm eating a burger. It's like, because it's programming your subconscious mind. I say we all need to get heart washed.
That's a good one. Yeah, cutting out music or now I kind of can cruise listening, just like it's almost like an ear. Like I have a second ear that's like, okay, filtering what they're saying a little bit because I can still listen to like 2000s rap or something like that. But I can just be like, okay, what's going on here? But I pretty much only listen to gospel now. I'm just like, I just want God in the room. I'm like all day, just like, and the way that my life has shifted and the way that my frequency has raised and the way that I find, honestly, sometimes I think I'm like hanging on by a thread and gospel is that fucking thread. I'm like, it is the only thing keeping me is putting on gospel in the morning and having that frequency. And once I was mindful about frequencies, because I'm so sensitive to like your whole life can just open up and become really beautiful because a lot of the women listening are very interested in affirmations and, ensuring that they have good beliefs that are creating a life that they love. But a lot of the beliefs we don't recognize are coming from music. And when it comes to the frequency of sound, hitting the root chakra, going to the crown, it's like, that's really not supporting you and becoming who you came here to be.
And the music that is being okayed is actually a much lower frequency than it was in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it's a much lower frequency.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is like rock and roll used to control how people acted. And then it became pop. And now it's hip hop. And so now a lot
Country's
of
on the way.
Yeah, and so now the rappers are like wearing dresses and things like that, and these people are being, and next thing you know, you're seeing this little kid who's like, oh, that's my, oh, now this little kid is wearing. So it's like this is a part of. I understand patterns and sequences. They can see this is where fads come from.
Mhm.
This is where it used to be skinny jeans. Now these big baggy jeans. Now these big red boots. I was like, yo, y'all look like clowns.
Mhm.
And so, and I can see it.
Mhm.
And I think that when people start not trying to ride waves, but create waves of their own, that's when they're going to start experiencing living life and not just existing through fad from fad to fad to fad.
Yeah. Trying to find themselves or God in the fad. So talking about the masculine experience, talking about, being someone that, I have two questions. I'll ask this one first. You said in your description of your wife that you wanted a masculine woman that also could slip into her feminine, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I feel like I've been brainwashed to be like, men want a feminine woman. What do you love about like having a woman that's really powerful in her masculine?
I want to be challenged. I know the ways in which I hide. And the ways I don't, I want somebody who is gonna call me forth and not just like let me get away with shit. Like I don't want that. And now there's a lot of men. It's like I want my wife to be submissive and da da da. And I want to see. There's two different versions of submission. There's submission by control, and there's when a woman knows she's powerful and she knows who she is and she chooses to submit. That is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So I want a woman who, if something were to ever happen to me, she got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want a woman whenever I have because I don't want to always be the strong one. If somebody passed away and it's like, oh man, I don't want to just carry the roof. And so having someone who's also strong, but who knows how to be in her feminine, it's like for me, it's somebody that I can easily slip in my feminine, I can easily slip in my masculine. I would do anything to protect and provide for my family. And I'm not thinking about just right now. I want somebody who's not just okay, whatever you say, and da da da. And not all feminine women are like that. Not a lot of them are not like that. But it's like there are a lot of them. It's just like you can just get away with anything. I don't want that. I call me forth
Mm-hmm.
because I want to grow. I want to be challenged, and I want you to speak up for yourself. And so that for Blair and it's like a lot of men don't want to be challenged. It's like, oh, she questioning me too much and da da da. I'm like, well, there's a part of her that might be questioning because she knows that you're greater than you are and you might be limiting your own growth. So I personally, I can't speak for everyone else. I want someone who's going to stand for me because again, you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. So if you see the frame and you have enough courage and confidence, maybe it doesn't come out right the first time, but you say something, I'm like, damn, you were right.
Mm-hmm. That is one thing. I mean, the sight of women is so crazy. And I think what my offering to women is once you can sculpt that sight in a way that is supportive and truthful and helpful, and you've ran it through the filter of your own biases or your own fear and use it for good of the container, I mean, it's such a gift. Like the relationship that I was in recently, the gift of my oracle bestowed upon a man is like so much value. It's so much value. It's so much beauty. It's so much wisdom. And I also realized in that container too, I was like, oh, it was interesting because in my dating journey, I've gotten to be around amazing men, powerful men that have taught me so much, abundant men, creative men, interesting men. But I had been in a situation where I was dating some very masculine men, very provider vibes. And then I was in this situation with a man that was very balanced. And I was like, oh, I actually enjoy the balance because I'm balanced. I actually don't want to be just feminine. I don't want him to be just masculine. And I think right now the conversation is so much on men being more masculine, women being more feminine. And it's like, actually, the balance is where we want to find ourselves. So if we're stuck here, the next step beyond that is finding balance again. So coming into balance with a man that feels incredibly anchored in his masculine, but also anchored in his feminine was such a beautiful experience and such a liberating feeling for me, because I have such an amazing masculine. Like the way that I love my masculine is so crazy, and I'm so grateful for it. And I am sculpting and cultivating or allowing and experiencing a deeper feminine truth that, like, I think is experienced more with the masculine. But yeah, hearing you talk about the balance of you both is really beautiful.
Yeah, it just works. Sometimes people say, "Oh, oh, she's my mirror, he's my mirror." They're like, we're just alike. No, mirror image. Actually, most people don't even know what they look like. You take a selfie, that's actually not what you look like.
Mm.
You got to go into edit, flip the photo, and then you can see what you look like. Mirror image is actually the inverse of you.
Mhm.
So when people are like, "Oh, it's too challenging and I just want to," I'm like, well, everything that's my strength is Blair's weakness. Everything that's Blair's strength is my weakness. And we stair step each other. That's why the commitment to growth, you can look at us now, you look at us 2 months from now, they're like, wow, like, what have y'all been doing? I was like, it's not easy. But the groundedness comes from me being committed. And commitment comes first. You don't need enough evidence then for you to commit, because now you don't have faith. The commitment comes first. So my triteness so far into the ground, that's why it's like the octopus legs of the distractions have demagnetized because of my level of commitment. And that groundedness is the fruit of commitment. And so that's why it's easy for me to oscillate, because I'm so grounded in my body without trying to be something. I used to think, you get tattoos, you get a mustache, and you do these things, and it makes me more of a man. And I honestly, I look back and I was like, yo, what was I? I don't even know what I was thinking. It's like, no.
I know, I'm like, the longer my hair, the more of a woman I am.
It's like, here's what makes me a devoted man. My level of commitment, loyalty, honor, dignity, self-respect, love for my wife, love for my family. When my wife's not around, you think she's in the room. And it's like, it's how I hold it. And the fact that I take personal responsibility. I don't hold in resentment. Tough conversations they're growth conversations to me. I don't run away from them. And it's like, most people, a lot of people, especially when it comes to men, they're like, how do you do that? I was like, but you claim to be this masculine person. I was like, you can't have these conversations?
Dude, I can't.
Or you have to force the conversation? Oh, you're weak. Oh, you're vulnerable. You were crying. Let me tell you something. I'm going to explain something to you. The reason why I've been able to, the energy called Garrain, impact millions of people globally, effortlessly, is because when I was the most vulnerable in my life in 2013, and I went on social media and I said, you think you know me? You have no idea. You know, this, and this, and I've dated this person because that's what I told you. What you don't know is right now I'm currently living in my car. Right now is this. I've cheated on every girlfriend I ever had. Right now is this. Right now is this. And in 5 years, I'm going to retire my mom. I'm going to be a multimillionaire and all this. And I'm just crying. It was the freest I'd ever felt.
Yeah.
First message I got from somebody: thank you for your strength. I put the gun down when I read your testimony, and I was like, oh. Vulnerability is a real strength. When it's genuine, not when you're trying to get attention, when it's genuine and you are releasing what has you trapped, that's another level of strength that in some of the strongest people I've ever met are some of the most genuinely vulnerable people, because they're not afraid to cry, but they can also protect and provide for their family. And then, it in a switch of a dime.
It's also a free flowing of energy, in truth. So you're not hiding energy. You're not forcing energy to go a different place. It's like feeling truth expression, feeling
You're
truth
not
expression.
overcompensating,
Yeah.
masking. There's no
Yeah.
public persona.
Yeah. I feel like that's where people lose a lot of energy and get tired all the time, is because your persona is just running. I've gotten so much more energy the more authentic I've been, because
Yeah.
I'm just running my own frequency. I'm running my God frequency. What you said about commitment, I'm obsessed with, and I have never thought about that. And I think that's something that what I'm witnessing in dating culture now is almost like you have to prove yourself and then you'll get commitment. And it's not like it's not like Blair wasn't everything on your list, or she wasn't everything, but it's like you as the man being like, I don't know where this is going in this very moment, of how far it will go to things, or correct me if I'm wrong. Did you commit before you knew she was your woman in a way, or
On the
what?
first date, I changed her name on my phone to Miss Jones. I was like, this is my wife.
Wow.
And I knew that once
Did she know too?
not at that moment. I went first.
I feel like that's a trend with men, and I feel like men know first.
I guess.
And what I've seen with women, it's like the men like sees and knows.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it without a shadow of a doubt. But it was in that moment, something took over my body.
Mm.
And when I saw a future, I told her on the first date, I could see you being the mother of our children, and I can see you being my wife. She was like this. I went to the bathroom. I wasn't punching above my weight class. I was speaking from vibrational truth.
Mm.
And I was like, this is where I'm at. 6 months later, we were engaged. And a little bit after that, we were married, and baby 1, baby 2. And it was over 5 years. And if I know you can commit to a job, some people commit to a 9 to 5 for 20 years and they hate the job.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that you love. It's something that takes over your body. And I was like, but what if I get hurt? I was like, that's the trap.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trap, because you're not bringing it. It's like those people say, well, whenever this happens, then I'll be happy. Well, then whenever this happens, then I'll be happy. I was like, no, you've got to assume the energy first. Be before you become.
Mm-hmm. The energy of commitment is just like, I think that's so beautiful. For women that want to find a safe masculine man, what are some signs she should look out for? Why are you laughing? Because it's like,
because these are questions I get every single day.
Okay, I didn't mean to.
No, not on podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about women that
Behind the scenes.
So it's like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I could answer this in 1,000 different ways. So the thing about it is, women need to understand how powerful of a magnet they are.
Yeah, that's true.
When you feel safe in your own body, and I tell women, when you find safety in God,
Mm-hmm.
you won't look for someone else to make you feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So therefore, you'll be emanating a completely different frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a foundation. You don't try to build the house from the rooftop down. You start from the foundation and you build up the foundation of your life. And so if there is no safety, and it's kind of muddy. You got $1 million house, faulty foundation. Oh yeah, as soon as that wind comes, it blows over. Yep, gone, gone. So I say, when you learn how to find safety in yourself by having a connection and say, God, thank you for providing for me. Thank you for protecting me. When you meet a man who can see you, and there's nothing about you that's saying, I need you to save me. I mean, the power of a woman's suggestion is crazy. And there's no even subtle, just like, come on, take it, save me. And it's subtle. It's really subtle. If there's any of those frequencies going out, that's the ingredients that's creating him. That's how powerful of a magnet a woman is. I'll tell you, when I got my relationship with my daughter and I started pursuing her, and there was like 15 women around me watching how I was pursuing my daughter, asking her on a date and like being away with her I'd never been in my life. She's 15. Why did all 15 of them who had bad relationships with their dad, why did their relationships with their dad start changing just by how they were witnessing me be a father? Because they pictured themselves being my daughter and they pictured me being their dad. That's how powerful of a woman is in their suggestive mind. So when they start thinking and projecting a different picture of a man based off of whatever is going on inside. So that's why when you have the hologram, which is God in reflection inside of yourself, and that becomes the projection, you will attract a man that is in that frequency. Triangle. He looks at you, you look at God. It's the boom, 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 boom. But the triangle is how the mirror, the reflection of the mirror.
So good. For anyone that feels lost right now on their path and doesn't know where they're going and feels like disconnected, what would you tell them?
I would tell you to put your hand on your heart. Take slow, intentional breaths only through your nose. Take a deep breath in and out your nose slowly. In your nose. Out your nose slowly. In your nose. Out your nose with a smile. And I want you to imagine that you're on a playground and there's a bunch of kids on a playground and there's one little bitty kid over there to the left that nobody is playing with. I want you to imagine going over to that little kid and asking, hey, what's going on? The little kid's not looking. And then you naturally just really wanting to engage and not leave the little kid because you notice that they're over there by themselves really sad, and you not leaving no matter what, trying to put a smile on their face or asking what is wrong, and like really, really nurturing the opportunity to connect. I want you to imagine that little kid looks up and says, thank you for talking to me. Can I tell you something? And then I want you to feel deeply into that connection. And what does that little kid want to say? Whatever that message is, I want you to imagine the part of you that is lost is that little kid that just wants a deeper connection with yourself and enough patience to just stay in there and ask questions and listen. That's what I would say.
So good. So good. I was there. It's a problem with me, man. I'm like, now where am I? Where can our audience find and connect with you if they don't know you already?
You can go to my website, GarrainJones.com, or Instagram at Garrain Jones. And what's really cool is in June in Austin, Texas, I'm doing a retreat called Artist Power Awaken. All of y'all are artists because if you create anything, like literally anything, it is to tap into the deepest reaches of the inner child, but ultimately lead you back to the overflowing love of self by using the modality of a bunch of little kids inside of adults connecting together, playing, painting, dancing, drumming, chanting. And through that infuses the miracle of you. So it is a one of a kind retreat. Nobody needs to retreat from anywhere. It's a retrieve. Um, and I hope to see you there. And if not, I'll see you online. And just know that anything that you've been looking for outside of you has been inside of you this entire time, friend. And just know that I am an ally, I am a supporter, and I'm excited to grow alongside you.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon. We love you so much. Bye. Thank you so much, Garrain. I really appreciate you. I had so much fun. I can't wait for the next one. I'm literally your girl. I really loved our conversation. Again, you can find Garrain Jones on YouTube and Instagram, and he has retreats and coaching and is just a great being.
Incredible. Thank you all for listening. It means the world. I know a lot of you have been with us throughout the years. So we appreciate you. Please get our new book, Almost 30, The Definitive Guide to a Life You Love for the Next Decade and Beyond. Anywhere books are sold, online as well. You can learn more at almost30.com/book.
Love you guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.